And now on Brevard News, poll of the week. The poll is: do you agree with the state of Florida's ending of all childhood vaccine mandates? And I feel like Kevin's setting me up on this one. So this got a lot of interaction from you guys, and let's group some of these because we have a couple of positives and a couple of negatives as far as answers. So we have yes and absolutely, and that comes in at 36 and 3%. So 39%, 39%, Kevin, say yes, Florida should end all childhood vaccine mandates.
And the thing is the mandate is the key there, is that they're not saying that they should get rid of vaccines. They're saying that people should be allowed to have the choice as to whether or not you get your kid vaccinated. And that's where the problem comes in. Should we in a free country have the choice as to whether to vaccinate our kids? And I'm all in for it. Yes. I'll say yes every day of the week because you should have a choice. This is a free country.
So the other answer is no and absolutely not are 20% and 35% respectively. So 55% say no, Florida should keep the mandates for childhood vaccines.
This drop of a mandate gives a choice, but it doesn't take away the recommendation. And I think that's really important to point out because you could still go get your vaccinations. And I think part of the problem is people just aren't doing enough of their own decision making process, and they're expecting other people to make the decisions for them. You have a doctor, you have a brain, right? You have the ability to look into this and to make a decision that's best for your family and your children and their health. And it comes back to choice. I think every person is different when it comes to their health makeup, right? So we all have different genetics, and there's reasons why some of us get cancer, some of us don't. That all plays a factor. And so to have a one size fits all solution is extremely difficult with anything, not just vaccinations. And so I would understand if you have a child that's born like my older brother, he's disabled. He was born with a heart defect. So how he's treated with vaccinations would be different. And so there's people that have already opted out, more people than ever. And I personally, I think of polio, and I would vaccinate against that. Mm-hmm. It's got a proven track history, but that's a personal decision.
Yeah, and so 55% are really against Florida dropping it, you could probably add the 5% that says this will end in disaster.
And I wonder why they say it's going to end in disaster.
I think maybe
I think we go back to fear, right? A lot of things are fear driven in this country, and I think people fear, possibly, maybe I'm going a different direction than what you're saying.
Well, I was going to say, I think it's because we don't, in general, the government and people kind of don't trust the public to make decisions on their own, which is why we have mandates. And somebody kind of said, one of the comments kind of covered this, my answer would be different if all were removed from the question. So they're saying keep the ones that aren't controversial, the ones that have a long track record of not doing anything. I don't know what those are. I'm just saying what they're probably saying. To kind of have that, so then we don't have, instead of doing away with all the mandates, have some that have a good track record and keep those, and the others you don't. Because people don't always do their research. People don't have time, and I understand that, but also people don't
one of
want
the problem with that is that people should have the choice. Now, there was a woman in Detroit, Michigan that just recently won a lawsuit because her company tried to force her to take the COVID shot. She said, no, I'm not taking it. They fired her. She won, I think it was 12 point something million dollars. People should have the choice to make decisions. So if you say that keep the ones that are forced, COVID was being forced. It was being forced. And people conscientiously were against it. The question comes down to it is, do people have the right to make decisions for their own body?
Yeah, they have a right. It just doesn't mean they're going to be smart about it. I mean, some people, like you said, they might not do their research. They might not do their due diligence. And I think that's what I was saying with the fear factor, is that people fear that, polio will come back, for instance, or that, we're going to have a major disease come back and cause a huge
Not if you
pandemic.
take your vaccines. If you're scared about that, take your vaccine.
Yeah, they
Check
talk
it.
about
Doesn't that
herd
protect you?
immunity. That,
But
yeah.
isn't this also just about kids who go to a public school? You could have a child that is homeschooled or goes to a private school that doesn't require vaccines, and that mandate's not there. So isn't this mandate just about kids going to school, going to a public school?
A lot of it is going to school because that's where you're going to be confronted with the mandate.
It does say
Yeah.
Most of the
childhood.
time. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
there's not going to be
childhood
mandates and
vaccine.
maybe in college, but it's a lot of it is in the educational institutions where
Yeah.
you're going to have to show this. I mean, and your jobs are not asking for it, right?
Yeah.
So, but again,
Childhood.
the question is, do we live in a republic where the government has to start trusting people to make choices? The reason people are not making choices is no one is trusting them to make choices. Let the people decide what's
I
important
really
for their
think it
lives.
should be up to the parents and them consulting with a doctor. You definitely should consult with a doctor what's best for your child, and that's how I feel
Sure,
too. I
sure.
think.
But they have doctors. Let them consult with those doctors.
Yep.
I mean, it's like with anything. If you make choices for anyone constantly and they've never had to make those choices, how will they ever know to make them?
One size fits all doesn't really work. So
That's it.
yeah,
And they're finding that out from a DNA standpoint.
yeah,
That you can specifically target your own DNA and what's best for you.
yeah. So, I think the other one we didn't cover was It's Past Time, which is 1%, which I guess you could roll into the yes and absolutely. So we had a lot of interaction on this, and we could go on forever, but a lot of comments, 126 comments, a lot of over 1,500 votes, and really appreciate you voting on this. And maybe the next one will be just as controversial, and we'll get just the same amount of interaction. But we really hope, no matter what the subject is, that you make your voice heard, vote on this, comment, and let us know. And we'll see you next time.